Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening to our friends in Scotland and in other places of the world. Thank you to the Islay Scotch Society. Tamer, thank you for inviting us to the table. I hope you all have drams to take you through the evening and this conversation. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be able to spend some time with the master distiller and my good friend, Mr. John Campbell, coming to us all the way from the office at the Laphroaig distillery here this evening. I do want to mention that during this time and after this conversation, if you're interested in donating to the Islay Resilience Fund, it's a good cause to help the folks on Islay get through the challenges of the pandemic. I believe they are up to £9,052 of their £10,000 mark, so they're getting very close. So without any further ado, we've got some time. This is a conversation. This is an opportunity for you to be able to talk to and ask questions, and we'll also I'll be asking John some questions as well. So without any further ado, we're going to raise a glass to John Campbell. Thank you for having us here this evening. And John, welcome. Tell us a wee bit about yourself, where you're from. Well, this is 25 years at Laphroaig in the business. If you could just give folks a little bit of background of how you got to where you are today.
Well, hi everyone. Thanks for taking time out in your Saturday afternoon to listen to me warble on a wee bit. Yeah, I've been at Laphroaig for over 25 years now, and started off in the rack houses, and then just people kept trusting me. I kept doing okay at the jobs, and then I made assistant manager in August 1999, and then the kind of head distiller in January the 19th, 2006. So over 14 years now. So that makes me the longest ever master distiller at Laphroaig Distillery as well, in over 200 years. So that makes me proud. I am from the island as well, so that'll explain the funny accent. From Portellan, so just a mile and a half down the road, and worked in different distilleries throughout the industry up in Speyside, mainly some Highland distilleries as well, and then at Laphroaig within kind of the same company. So got lots of different experiences, different types of distilleries, different types of whiskey production, from plain to peated, all round. So yeah, it should have more than half my life working in whiskey now. So and at Laphroaig, so I feel that's a positive thing. I guess that's me.
Hey, John. The other distilleries that you've worked at, do you have a favourite other than Laphroaig that you enjoyed your time working at, and why was that?
I was going to be cheeky and say no, but probably Tormower, because it was unpeated, and so it's quite delicate, the process there. So any small change can affect production. It's a different kind of delicacy making heavy peated single malt Scotch whisky. Taught me a lot as well, because they had like an effluent plant that needed a lot of attention. So your distillery was almost as good as the end point, the effluent. So it was just good experience. It was cold though. It was very, very cold. I'm not used to snow, So digging yourself in this out of snow in the morning and then back in at night was certainly a strange experience.
So, as a master distiller, what are the 3 most important skills you feel are important to for your job?
Good question. I would say having a decent palate, a decent sensory palate would be very, very important. Having some technical knowledge is also very important as well, to understand changes you could be introducing in a process and just understanding the consequences. So having the technical kind of knowledge or expertise on that, having the sensory expertise, and then what would be the third one? Be lucky, I guess, because it's just like the most important thing other than that is just managing the people, and that's the bit, I guess, that's just luck sometimes. So
And
it's
how many people are you managing?
there is 38 on the site, so it's not a huge amount of people, but it's just we all just need support pretty much every day, so that's important to do it right.
And when you first started 25 years ago at Laphroaig, was it the same number of people? It's grown quite a bit, yes?
Yes, no, back when I started, there was a huge warehouse squad because we did the warehousing for Laphroaig and Ardbeg because they were part of the same company then. And they kind of separated in 97, I think, 97, 98. And then we had 3 maltmen, we had 6 mashing and stilling, so 9, engineer 10, we had 7 warehousemen, which was a lot, but there was a lot of work on, so I guess that's 17, a manager and a secretary, so 19. No tours or anything were taken at that time.
So the visitor centres really expanded the workforce at the distillery.
Yes, and we've moved to 24/7 production as well.
Right. I mean, you've seen that growth in the island as well. The tourism and the whiskey tourism has been a big boon for Islay, has it not?
Yeah, hugely important, especially over the last 10 to 12 years. In 2008, we got extra infrastructure with a second ferry, and that made a huge difference because before that, you literally couldn't come even if you wanted to. So 2008, it was just a huge year, and getting the extra infrastructure really helped. Just since then, its visitor numbers they pretty much doubled every year for the first up to 2013, 2014, and then it slowed. But we went from roughly about 2,000 people a year visiting up to 25,000 over that spell.
That's a huge growth. And do you want to tell us a little bit about those years when they were also managing Ardbeg? I mean, what did that entail? Because I think that's a chapter that a lot of people don't realize, and that happens quite a bit in the industry in terms of kind of sharing of distilleries. But how was it being managed during that time?
Ardbeg was just doing very, very small campaigns. It was even Laphroaig back then was only working 5 days a week. So we would then do that, and what would then happen is Ardbeg would be in production. We would send some of the Laphroaig workers up to Ardbeg, and then we would go up and fill the casks and warehouse all the stock at Ardbeg Distillery for the Ardbeg team. See, somebody's asking a question there as well, Simon.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yes. So, how does Laphroaig determine into which countries you're shipping bottles from the distillery? We've got somebody from the Czech Republic, and can't order directly? Is it a business decision, or are there any troubles with logistics? It was not possible before the COVID situation.
It's really just a matter of stock availability more than anything else. So what happens is we have historical markets. We've been a single malt for very close, if not 100 years now, but we've only really sold in 7 or 8 markets, and these markets are still growing. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to spread the footprint slowly, but the markets we're currently in are basically growing faster than we laid down 10 years ago. So we haven't decided to expand the footprint of the brand as yet, but we will do that in the future. It is coming. So patience. We are hoping to get the web availabilities fixed again, I think is the best way to say that as well. So looking to try and get the web service back to the way it was 4 or 5 years ago as well.
Right. There was a comment from Cameron George. Nice to see him on in the conversation with Ardbeg, and he was saying the spirit was pretty incredible, the distillate during those years. We've got one from Filippo, who says he's sort of new to Laphroaig. So far I've had select and quarter cask and I love them. Can you suggest me a path to Laphroaig? I guess next one will be at 10 years. What next? So you're Filippo, you're definitely on the right, you're in the right direction. If you select and quarter cask, I would personally recommend the 10-year if you haven't had that yet next. I would also suggest, just depending on availability of what's available in your market, in your city. Triple wood is also a great one. It also may depend on your budget and what you can afford, but the 10-year is the classic. It's the one that has put us on the map. John, you want to talk a little bit about the 10-year?
Yeah, no, so it is the house style, it's the house recipe. It was created by, or finished off by Ian Hunter in the 1930s, 1940s, and we still hold true to a lot of the principles from then as well. The spirit stills are the same, the floor maltings is still the same from these periods, and these are 2 huge factors in the flavour that we will produce at the distillery. So bourbon casks matured on site as well. So these are 4 key characteristics that make Laphroaig and make it what it is as well. So it's slightly different from the rest of the single malts due to these factors.
We've got a question from Greg Schwartz, who's saying now that the Feshiel, which is Islay Festival in the Gaelic, Feshiel, now that it's been cancelled, what will you be doing during the online festival and of course the bottling itself? John, can you speak on that?
Working on something to try and get a virtual tasting, and absolutely a lot of it will be about the bottling, the cartridge bottling, the cartridge release. Again, just trying to get a platform sorted out to make sure that when we launch it, that it's just working. So we will be looking to sell the cartridge online at some point. It might not be at the festival time, and that's kind of what we're thinking just now. So getting the platform correct and the functionality correct, but there will be a cartridge that will be released and it will be available online.
I see Peter's pouring himself a glass. What is that you're pouring there, Peter? There's the 10-year, fantastic. So that 10-year is, we're going to take 250 barrels that are 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. We're going to marry those barrels. Can you mute your line if you are, thank you. 250 barrels that are 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. We're going to marry them. They're going into a tank that's got 20% of the last batch. And then we are going to add water and bring it down to bottling strength. For North America, it would be at 43%. Another recommendation, if you were looking for something a little bigger, a little bolder, the 10-year cask strength, which is a yearly batch that we do. And that's 100 barrels that are 10 years old. And you can tell the 10-year batch cask strength, where they've been aging, where they pulled the liquid from, because the darker spirit 10-year cask strength will come from the road warehouses, whereas the lighter 10-year cask strength will be will come from closer to the sea, because you're getting less wood influence. John, what do friends of Laphroaig tell you about your whiskey that surprises you, or you never thought of while you were making it?
That's that.
You take some time to think on that one, and we can ask another one. But yeah, what has surprised you in the past about the whiskies?
I don't think, I'm not sure if anything surprised me, but just I'll need to think about that one, I think.
Yeah, we have certainly in the past we've had responses from customers, and with sending bottles back because they're saying, "I'm sorry, there's something wrong with this bottle. There's too much smoke in it." But that's our whiskey. That's the style of our spirit. That's the way Laphroaig is meant to be.
And I suppose it might surprise other people more than anything else, that, like, especially after, you guys would call it the holiday period or Christmas here in the UK, and somebody's asked a friend, what's the best whiskey I can get my father-in-law, something like that, and they buy them a Laphroaig, and then we get the complaints after Christmas just exactly like that. A lot of people just thinking that this is just like disinfectant, so there's something wrong or that. So we usually do get a lot of that, especially after the holiday season.
We've got a question about how have the tariffs impacted pre-COVID, that's something that Bean Suntory is negotiating. We are in discussion, and we are trying to alleviate the tariff situation, but it is certainly a situation that has impacted all of the whiskey industry. And please know that we are working on, John, we're working on it from the distillery up through our executive committees. We've got some questions here. 10-year cask strength is amazing. I started my whiskey journey with Laphroaig 10, but the cask strength version is like hens, and I just didn't get the end of it. Just want to say that you have a great distillery tour and experience. Great work. I was on Islay for my honeymoon in 2016. That would be Aaron, and I think you may have met Aaron and his bride. I have a chance to get a bottle of Laphroaig 18, the white tube. I know it is discontinued, but what are your thoughts on that particular Laphroaig?
Yeah, no, I like that one as well. I like Laphroaig's roughly around that age, just for you start to get a nice balance between the cask flavours and the distillery flavours. Usually in younger Laphroaigs, you will just get more of the peaty power, and then you start in with the 18, I think you get a nice balance between the cask and the distillery flavours. And you go back to, and with that 18, you actually get some of the flavours coming through from, like the floor maltings. You would get a nice malty, kind of green, unripe banana flavour coming through in that. So I really like that white one. Bless you.
Bless you. Allergies.
Yeah.
So, John, is there a difference between the white tube 18 and the green tube 18?
the marketeer's influence.
It's
That's
just the packaging. The
It
liquid's
was
all
basically, we wanted all the packaging. We had all at that point when it had the green tube, we had all different colours, sizes, shapes. So they just cleared it up and got the font all in a line. If you ever saw all of the brands in a row, we changed them all to white tubes, all same font, all same thing. So that's when, like, the picture came off Quartercast, etc. at that point.
right.
Yeah.
Adam says this past year's Scotch, the cast strength triple wood was an exquisite dram, and I agree with you, Adam. It's definitely one of the top Karchai, I think is the plural for Karchai. Karchai. Nice to see PJ Orlandi on the line. He is our Virginia Protector of the Peat, and was the initial contact with Tamer and the Islay Scotch Society. So PJ, thank you for the introduction, and we really have been enjoying these conversations. The other week it was the Islay boys, and I think Nicholas Bowman popped on for a second. He may still even be on the line.
I think I saw him there.
Yeah.
Nice to see your guys' faces.
Thanks, and thanks for helping to set this up, PJ. Question from Cameron. Without giving too many of your plans away, can you speak to floor maltings and if we will see more bottlings of 100% floor malted Laphroaig?
So to speak to floor maltings, I think there's a few things, flavours, when you do a floor maltings that it will add to a whiskey. So the first thing is, just because it's a natural germination process, what you do, you get oils produced in the malted barley that you won't get produced if you buy it commercially. So you just get an extra layer of oiliness coming through in the spirit. And then because of the way we flavour it or peat it, because we do a very cold smoke and we do it quite intensely at the beginning when the grain has the high moisture content. So what that means is we just get more smoke right inside the grain as well, just when it's kind of breathing it in. And so it is able to breathe it in at high moisture. So what happens is, as the moisture lowers, the ability for the grain to soak the smoke flavour in diminishes. So we try and do it very like a cold smoke and really intensely at the beginning to try and get that different intensity and smoke intensity inside the grain. The other thing with smoke flavours is, because of doing a cold smoke, we basically produce two different variants of smoke flavour or intensities of smoke flavour. So it's cresols and glycols we will produce more of, and there are about 6 or 7 flavours that make up a smoke flavoured profile. So by doing, and how we get cold smoking is we just light the peat fire and we won't be blowing the warm air through it at that point. Every other distillery in the Scotch whisky industry will flavour and dry at the same time. It's just more efficient that way. So by us separating these two processes and doing the cold smoking, that really makes a big difference to the way the flavour of Laphroaig single malt. It's probably one of the biggest influences, apart from the Islay atmosphere. So while we'd be doing more of it, there is small amounts being produced every year. But what we have to try and do as well, so you might see the very odd one, but it'll be very, very small batches if we do. The reason we don't separate it out is because it's just so important to every drop of Laphroaig we produce, and we're trying to be very, very consistent in the flavour profile we produce off the stills, and we're only trying to produce the one type of liquid, so we're blending malted barley together all the time to try and get that consistency.
Thanks, John. We have a question from Dan Searing. He has a bottle of the cast strength 10-year batched 55.7 strength.
Yeah.
And that he bought the distillery in April 2006. How would that be different than from the cask strength 10 of today? So the batch number 11 is batched at 58.6.
You know,
So
they're all different. And this was the red stripe one, the 55.7. So it would have been produced slightly differently as well, because if you're buying it in 2006, it was produced in 1996. And if you remember what I said at the beginning when I started at Laphroaig, the biggest difference then was that we weren't on 24/7 production. So what we would do, we would work 5 days a week. So the fermentations sitting in the fermenters, they would be over the weekend. So they would have a long fermentation. And so we would actually produce long fermented whiskey and short fermented whiskey, and we would marry all that together. So the whiskey produced in 96 would have been slightly different because of that. Everything else, we are looking to get differences from year to year. That's why we do, as Simon says, small volumes of casks to get variation each year. But the 55.7, we were trying to keep the same or very, very similar from year to year before that. And then before that, we had the 57.3, the green stripe.
great, thanks, John. Well, we're just gone past the half-hour mark, so I think it's time for a toast. So if you want to raise your glasses there, and here's the toast. If there is righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. If there is beauty in the character, there will be harmony in the home. If there is harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. If there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. So let it be. Slàinte, cheers. Right, so Sean Williams is asking, Laphroaig was my intro to Scotch, and I still come back to it and love it. Are there any plans to release more limited edition age statements like this past year's Laphroaig 16 year?
Yes. No, there'll be more 16 coming. It was received very, very well. It was really nice liquid. It was very much to the question about the 18-year-old earlier. This one is along the same lines as the old 18-year-old, I would say, from a flavour profile point of view. So yes, we will be releasing some of that.
John, it looks like you're wearing 3 layers. Is it that cold there now? And I always drink Laphroaig neat. Any cocktails you'd recommend using?
Yes, it's not that cold, but the heating's off in the office now. So the sun is just going down, getting the last of the daylight here. But cocktails, lots and lots of opportunities for cocktails or Laphroaig cocktails, from penicillins to mojitos. You can do smoky mojitos as long as you sugar rim the glass, it'll be fine. I've seen whiskey sours with Laphroaig, lots and lots, even just Rob Roy's, very simple cocktails. Laphroaig works very well with them, especially if you like the nice kind of peaty, kind of earthy, medicinal type flavours coming through.
Yeah, that Rob Roy is a classic. You know, with a sweet vermouth, a few dashes of bitters, and Laphroaig Select. I find Laphroaig Select is a lovely flavor profile. I'm not sure if you'd seen it, but recently Rose Byrne, the actress, made her own Laphroaig penicillin on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. If you YouTube it, it's just a great tribute to ingenuity during these challenging times right now. But there's also, we mentioned penicillin, the penicillin, which is Sam Ross of Milk and Honey. There's also the Laphroaig project out of San Francisco. And a favorite of the protectors of the peat around the country is the Smoky Peña, or a pina colada. Fantastic. Laphroaig and pineapple goes very, very well. Mint julep, a pineapple mint julep Laphroaig is fantastic. Those tropical notes really marry very nicely with the Laphroaig flavors. And John, you want to kind of talk on the tropical notes with Laphroaig?
Yeah, so what happens is, as we all do, I suppose, as the Laphroaig gets older, it changes and adapts. So when you get past all these kind of nutty, kind of red fruits and nice, kind of maybe nutmeg type flavors in the teenage years, when you go into the 20s, you start to get these tropical fruit notes certainly coming through in Laphroaigs, and even in maybe the 18 that we're talking about there, you would get nice maybe apricot flavors coming through as well. So you definitely get pineapple, and if you've ever had one of the 25-year-olds, you would definitely probably get pineapple in that, and definitely quite a lot of mango, maybe passion fruit, all of these types of flavors definitely coming through as it gets older. And the reason for that is just as the cask level drops and the whiskey ages, we'll get different chemical reactions happening, or oxidization happening, that will produce these flavors. And what happens is these sulfur compounds, as we're distilling, will start to turn into these fruit flavors with the oxidization.
So as you are sending in your questions, if you could just tell us where you're sending your question in from, it'd be good for us to know where in the world you are you're viewing this from. Now, I've got a question here. Do you recommend injecting Laphroaig to protect against COVID-19? No, we do not recommend injecting. We do recommend ingesting, but it's not going to protect you from the COVID-19. But you can also, that 10 cask strength will rub a little bit on your hands. It'll help to keep your hands clean as well. John, Adam is asking, in your opinion, what is it that sets Laphroaig apart from other Islay distilleries that release peated whiskies like Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Kilchoman, Bruichladdich, Kalila?
Yeah, probably just not a lot, maybe just 4 or 5 things.
Hey folks, just a reminder, can you mute your line if you are not sending a question? Thank you.
So yeah, no, I'm just laughing at the question before as well. It's quite topical here in the UK right now as well. So what makes Laphroaig different? So the floor maltings makes us different. That's the first thing. We get to produce a unique flavour profile that will start the process off. Nothing really in the mashing. We're extracting the sugars and flavours. We're adding a yeast and we're making a warm, smoky beer. In the distillation, we have an unbalanced distillation style at Laphroaig, and it ends up balanced over a fermenter, but not over a pair of stills like the way most of the industry would work. So the way we distill is very, very different. And we keep a huge balance of flow wines, foreshot and feints, or heads and tails. So we've got a huge big flavour pro all the time to try and, to create the balance. Maturing in an ex-bourbon barrel from our sister distillery, Maker's Mark, as well, and maturing on the island. And the climate on Islay is different to the rest of Scotland as well. So we don't get the very, very highs, we don't get the very low temperatures as well. So what that means is by maturing in Islay, you'll just get a different flavour profile, and the higher losses by maturing on the island as well. So that'll help, I guess, as the level comes down with more losses, that means less liquid, but means more oxidization, so different flavours happening as well. So these would be the key things, because Ardbeg will not make their own malted barley, and they won't mature all on the island either. Lagavulin, again, it's not matured on Islay, and Kilchoman will do all of these things actually, but they tend to kind of just do younger, powerful. Like they want the new spirit flavour to be the thing with them. Bruichladdich, no floor maltings again. probably coming soon though, and they will be maturing a lot on the island as well. They've just changed their whole strategy there in the last 3-4 years. Clearly not matured in Islay as well. So like we all follow the same process. We all do things just slightly differently. So it just makes us all taste slightly different.
Thanks. So John Christian was asking, but also I saw Connor Halloran was showing us the lore bottle there. So the question is about lore. Tell us about the different casks and ages that you use for lore. Does the mix change from batch to batch?
No. It's I guess it's like cooking in a way. Once you've got your recipe, you try and stick to the recipe and the same component parts and same volumes, etc. So lore is a combination of different whiskies. The base is a 15-year-old Laphroaig. So that will be most of the liquid, probably 60% of the liquid. And that will be like the glue that holds everything together as well. So what we will do, we'll add in 5 other different whiskies to give different flavour profiles to build up the layers in lore. Because what we're trying to do with lore is create one of the richest flavoured Laphroaigs that we can. And to get really, really intense Laphroaig flavours, we need peat, we need nice fruit flavours coming through, we need floral notes. Floral notes are very, very important to Laphroaig. And then we need like nice kind of dry notes coming through. So to get these flavours with the base of the 15, we have used, to get the peat, 8-year first fill bourbons. It just gives power. Just kind of, I've talked about with Kilhoman looking for the spirit there. We just want power with an 8-year-old Laphroaig. It's probably my favourite age of Laphroaig just because it's the intensity it has. And a lot of the cartridges have been based on an 8-year-old first and then double matured in something else over the last 5 to 6 years, since 2013 actually. Then, so 8-year-old gives the peaty power. And then for the fruit, we use 2 different types. So we use 10-year-old fully matured in Oloroso sherry casks, and then 21-year-old first fill bourbon. So starting to get some of these tropical fruit notes again coming through. And then the Oloroso sherry just gives that nice kind of rich, kind of just the kind of the really fruity kind of red fruits coming through from the Oloroso sherry. And then to get floral, we use 11-year-old virgin European oak, and these are basically casks that would be used for cognac, but basically coming straight from the cooperages in France to Laphroaig, and we'll just use it naturally, and we get nice kind of floral notes. And it's a different char in them as well. It's a heavy char in the European oak, so that gives these nice floral notes coming through. And then a very, very, very small amount of 9-year-old fully matured in a quarter cask. So with less surface area, more surface area, less liquid, you just get a lot of the wood flavours coming through, and it just gives a really, really dry kind of wood note coming through. So they're all added together to make up lore, and that gives all these flavours. So the way, when you taste lore, what you should get first, you get the nice kind of fruity sweet notes, you then get the floral, you then get the dry, and then just when you think it's finished, the peat starts to rise, lovely smoky flavours coming from the throat back up into the middle of your tongue, and there's almost a slight delay in the peaty note coming through with lore.
Okay, thanks, John. So we've got people calling in from all over the world. We've got Jeremy from Norway, Greg all the way from Indiana, John Christian from Norway as well, Sean Williams from Seattle. We've got Texas, Oakland, California. I know we've got Peter Grasso from Monmouth Whiskey Club there in New Jersey. Sweden, Thomas Blomstrom, Tom Kreisenberg from Maryland. And from all the way from Islay, Nicholas Bowman. We mentioned Nicholas before. I've got a question here for you. Good evening. Question from Mr. John. I tasted a 10-year bottle 35 to 40 years ago. I feel the taste is quite different, less oily, more of a dry wooden smoke. Why would it be?
From 40 years ago, it's a completely different process then as well. So probably 1970s, 1980s, we would be mixing different spirits together too. You would have plain spirit, peated spirit. It would be, again, just very different peating levels as well. It was slightly less peated back then. They'd have been blending, say, the peated and the plain together. I've tasted a lot from around that period too. Some are amazing and some aren't, I guess is the best way to say that. But I understand it, and it should be more. There should be more probably Islay malt in the barley. So somebody was asking about the Floor Maltings malt earlier. 40 years ago, the demand on supply would have been a lot less than it is now. So it would have probably been 100% Floor Maltings malt as well. So that would produce a slightly different flavour profile.
Okay. We've also got London on the line. I was a little slow to come around to Laphroaig, says Elliot Johnston, as I always thought it tasted like grey granite. Not white granite, grey granite. After your quarter cask, I love it. John, have you any plans or would like to do Laphroaig releases from the local Islay barley? Also, generally, I'd really be interested in trying a Laphroaig that has a strong salty note. Any suggestions?
Yes, okay. So, yes, the second one's easy. Drink Laphroaig between 6 and 12. That's the maximum salty level.
And so, that's not the time of the day. That's the year, right?
Yeah. So if you can get like younger, you get a different salty note coming through in the younger Laphroaigs. So 6 to 12-year-olds. So you will, some of the cask strength 10s will have a strong salty note in them as well. So if you're looking for that, and usually if you want more salty, a wee tip from me, add a couple of drops of water to your 10-year-old. And you'll get more earthy, salty, medicinal iodine type flavours coming through. So, Laphroaig releases local Islay barley. It would be nice, yes, it probably would be a nice thing to do.
No, because a 4-bedroom would be their ideal. That's what they
I'm just not sure if it can work and we'd get the volume we need.
Peter, can you go? Thank you. Any unpeated whiskies coming out, John, from Creasy?
Nope.
No, to the point.
Nope.
So yeah, Dan Searing says, if you never tried a penicillin, please do. It's a true modern classic. It really is. And as we start moving into the warmer season, Laphroaig cocktails is potentially the way to go. And if you've never tried a Laphroaig highball, a high carbonated soda water with a wedge of lemon, Laphroaig highballs are fantastic. I make it, here's Peter Grasso says, I make an old fashioned with Laphroaig 10, but it needs turbinado sugar to hold up and balance. Yes, Peter, I mean, the balance is a key, and it's easy to tip the balance with Laphroaig. So you need to make sure that the other ingredients are up to the flavor profiles, or if you're not going to use a Laphroaig 10, suggestion would be Laphroaig Select. John?
Yes, I would agree. I would go with 10 for an old-fashioned though, definitely. It's quite powerful.
Yeah, so Adam was saying the Islay distilleries seem to take a very different approach to marketing strategy. Some go big, for example, Ardbeg, while some are more understated, for example, Bowmore. Any thoughts on that?
It just depends on which market you go to around the world. So if you went to China, Bowmore will be going big. So it's the global footprint that the brands do have. So it'll be different in different countries, I think. So I think that's the answer. I'm not sure. We just all got targeted markets that we will go for.
we'll see this. We get the same response a lot of times from the Europeans saying, why does the US get all the Laphroaigs, right?
Yes, lots of times, and even why does it get at 43%, etc. So like there's lots with the cask strength, although that is coming back into different countries around the world now. The US, you either had to go to the US or come to the distillery to get 10-year cask strength 5 years ago. Now we are starting to spread its wings around the planet.
So we got Bruce from Massachusetts, Connor, who was enjoying the lore there. He is calling in from Vancouver, Canada, and Jonathan Glassman, Orange, Connecticut, just outside New Haven. Jonathan, good to see you. Great whiskey accounts there in New Haven. Amazing dram, says Aaron Margulis. 100%, Connor says, converted my missus into a peathead. Tis her favorite Islay. Good man, Connor, and good to the missus as well.
Yes.
Aaron Margulis, I have a bottle of lore, my second bottle of lore. I'm afraid to open it because it's so good. Aaron, do not be afraid. Get over the hump. Open that second bottle.
Yeah.
And Connor, again, richest expression ever. Mission accomplished on that front, my friend. Keep up the great work. John Stewart, when can we expect, and John, I'm not sure where you're calling in from, but when can we expect any new releases apart from the Carchus?
Yeah, good question. The next one after that will be Ian Hunted Batch 2. It'll be coming in about, who knows now, but it was planned to be August, so it might be slightly delayed, but we're going to get Ian Hunted Batch 2 in August. That was the plan.
And Sean Williams is asking, any plans to release just a straight 8-year-old?
We've done it as a Carchus. It was called the Islay edition because that's kind of where I started playing about with the 8-year-old Laphroaig. So if you can see a bottle of Carchus Islay edition, it will be just a straight, powerful 8-year-old. How can we get an 8? I'm just trying to think. That's the only way so far that I've released an 8-year-old as the Islay edition Carchus.
Okay. From John Stewart, are you experimenting with any new cask types given the slight relaxation on the SWA rules?
Not with Laphroaig, but definitely within the company. Yes. Yeah.
So Greg Schwartz is calling in from Los Angeles, and we've got Bruno van Dijk from Belgium, Dan Searing from DC. Greetings from the Miami Whiskey Mash. That's Frankie Dranks. And greetings from Alaska. We're coming from. And Jonathan Glassman says, I have a lovely 5-year-old from Single Cask Nation that has that salt.
Yes. No, and I was just, when I seen that comment, I thought, like, you will get some younger Laphroaigs from independent bottlers as well. So that is a good point, Jonathan. You will get some 8-year-olds. I know Signatory released an 8-year-old that was very well received. That's probably 15 years ago now. But yes, independent bottlers are a good way of getting younger Laphroaigs as well.
Question, when you're tasting from the barrel, how much water do you add? Asks Aaron.
I will use it a lot. You'll nose straight, and if you are happy with it, then you'll take it back to the distillery, and then it'll go in the kitchen basically, and I will usually wait until first thing in the morning. I won't have had my breakfast, and my nose is just at its most sensitive then, so we'll come down, reduce it right down to probably about 20% alcohol, that 40 proof, and just get right into the flavours then. So lots and lots, but initial nose in the warehouse, followed by the kitchen at Laphroaig.
Any plans to experiment with rum cask maturations? Sean's asked.
Yes, we've done it in the past, Sean, and it hasn't worked yet. We're trying, but it just we haven't found the right ones. I was looking from within our company as well, because we have Cruzan rum within the company, and I was looking to try and get some blackstrap barrels over to Laphroaig, but haven't managed to get it done yet.
Dan Searing writes, highballs for the win. Surprising flavors come out, especially with peaty whiskies. And who is in the photo over your shoulder?
If you can see, it's getting dark now. I'll need to go and put on the lights. That is Bessie Williamson. Around the room, I have Ian Hunter, Catherine Johnson, Isabel Hunter, and this is Bessie Williamson, who was one of the kind of the most influential owner distillers in the 20th century.
There was a message that it'd be great if you could post some cocktail recipes for Laphroaig, and that's something that we're looking to do on the Laphroaig webpage.
Yeah.
Post. But you can also write to me directly, Bruce, if you're interested. So Jerry asks, well, and apologies if this has already been asked, but John and Simon, what are your respective personal favorite expressions of Laphroaig? If you could pick only one, your desert island whiskey, what would that be?
It would be a 10-year-old to me, just be 10. Maybe a 10 cask if it's a desert island. But 10-year-old Laphroaig, to me, it's the real, like, it's Ian Hunter's recipe. So that's the main one. That is, all the rest are imposters.
I do love the 10-year cask strength myself. But that 30-year Carchus is a pretty stunning bottling as well.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. And it depends as well. Like, a lot of the time when you're drinking whiskey, you will have maybe 2 or 3 different types sitting there, and it'll depend on what mood you're in that day. Like, sometimes it's just a 10-year cask strength day, and sometimes you just want to be schmoozed and finessed, and maybe an older Laphroaig and something a bit subtler, where you maybe don't have to think as much as exactly what's required. So yeah, it probably is more of a mood thing, but if I'm only allowed one, it's 10-year-old.
So which Islay malts do you drink besides Laphroaig?
All of them. And it depends who I'm swapping bottles with, really. I've been doing some Bunnahabhains with Andrew recently, Andrew Brown, the manager, and we'll swap bottles. So Mickey Arbeg, solid, right, as well. Georgie at Lagavulin, and Alan at Bruichladdich is usually good as well. And I've just had a nice Kilhoman of the new Loch Gorham. So pretty much everything. I love whiskey. Like everyone else, I just love good whiskey. So yep, and there's plenty of it in Islay.
It also speaks to the community on Islay. I mean, yes, many of us are owned by multinational corporations, but ultimately it is a family on the island that work together and play together. Last weekend, Nicholas Bowman was talking the south part of the island versus the north side of the island. There is a bit of a rivalry, but ultimately people do come together.
Over whiskey, yes.
Yeah. There's a comment, a touch of hot sauce works well in Laphroaig cocktails as well. To that point, a Laphroaig Bloody Mary is fantastic. Delicious. Great way to start the day. Do you have any plans to release any younger age statements like the new Ardbeg 5-year?
Nope.
Okay.
Afraid no, nope. I'd be interested to try that one though.
So Samuel is asking, calling, what is the situation with coopering on Islay? He's heard that the trade is becoming more rare and that it is changing how some distilleries ship and use their casks.
Aye. Well, there aren't. I don't think there's any registered coopers on Islay, but we can fix casks pretty much ourselves. We do use Speyside cooperage for our quarter casks, so if we're making up a lot of casks, but the guys in the warehouse team here can repair casks if we need to as well. So one of them in particular has a lot of coopering skills, Peter McTaggart.
Sorry, I'm just looking at some other messages here. I've got my wife onto the Laphroaig train too, says Greg Schwartz. I have a Cartus here and she has a 4 Oak.
Wow.
4 Oak is travel retail duty free. You want to speak on that, John?
Yeah, it's just 4 different styles of whiskies. They're all married. They're consecutive, concurring maturations and then married together at the end. So different styles. 4 Oak's proven pretty popular as well in travel retail. And the original Cartus, Greg, or which Cartus? But yeah, it's great getting your wife into your Laphroaig whiskey, or your husband, but then you just have to share it.
Bruce is asking, why can't you ship swag from the US?
Or why can't we ship to the US?
Yes.
It's the 3-tier system, distributor system, and we basically ship everything through Chicago, which is a distilling company headquarters. So everything goes through Chicago.
Right. So I'm going to take a poll here. We've got people still asking. I've got a few more questions. We also have a Laphroaig trivia, Kahoot trivia, if you would like to do that. What's the general consensus? Shall we continue with the discussion, or I'll take a nodding heads. Continue with discussion, or shall we play Kahoot? Kahoot or discussion? We're going to continue with the discussion then. All right. Yep. Good. Thank you. Thanks for your honest opinion there. So here next question. We've seen a couple of releases that were released for different countries. Is there any plans for that again, or maybe some single cask would be exiting? That's Thomas Blumstrom.
Not probably this year, Thomas. We did a couple of single cask releases in the US last year, one for Warehouse Liquors and Julio's up in Massachusetts. So we've done slightly different things as well in the past for Sweden, countries like that, etc. So, and Germany as well, I'm thinking. So we've done different things for different markets over a period of time. We probably will keep it going, but there's no plans for any single casks this year.
Bruno writes, Simon and John, I do love the vintage 89 released for Sweden, the 23-year-old. I've tasted so many Laphroaigs, but couldn't find any with such a fantastic flavor. Any suggestions for more or less the same flavor profile? I'm the biggest Laphroaig fan of Belgium, I think. Got more than 70 unique bottles and tasted them all. Good for you, Bruno.
Good one. Good question. No, because it was pungent, that one as well. It was a completely. I can remember we tasted it in next door, Simon. That
right.
One, the 1989. That was a completely different type of cask that we haven't really done. And I don't think we have any more. So it is a quite unique one, Bruno. So it'll just need to be onto the auction sites, I'm afraid, if you want more of that one or that type of flavour, because it was just a very specific type of cask.
So Frankie Dranks asks, what progression of marks do you recommend for those that are Islay curious? And I think that depends on their drinking habits. That's what I always ask, just in terms of, do you want to kind of ease your way into the category, or do you want full PD power? If that's the case, then start them off with a 10-year, because that's the classic. But if you want something, you want to ease them into the room a little bit, then Laphroaig Select is a good recommendation. If they're bourbon drinkers, you may recommend a Laphroaig Quarter Cask. If they are big Macallan fans, I say try with Triplewood. So those are my recommendations. John, what are your thoughts?
No, absolutely. It depends. You can, just with 2 or 3 questions, you can find out quite a lot about where to position somebody, even with any of the Islay whiskies as well. So, yep, there should always be an Islay whiskey that we can get you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jerry writes he attended the Highland Games in Alaska last summer. Good, and we had a great time. That was my first visit to Alaska. Won't be the last. And he absolutely fell in love with Bowmore 25. Truly blown away. What other whiskies would you recommend based on that? Thank you. John? Well, or I would say the Laphroaig 25s, the current 25 that we have, the 2019, is all bourbon casks. I would say go for one of the 2018, 2017s,
Yeah.
which are more sherry casks.
Yep. More 25. It is nice as well. I've had a couple of more 25s over the years. So yeah, you just start to get different flavours with any whiskey gets into the 20s. So Jerry, I would just the trouble with that is you're probably just going to have to dig deep and stay with that kind of age range, because it does produce a unique flavour profile whiskey, Scotch whiskey in the 20s.
We are getting a lot of great questions here, John, and thank you to everybody for sticking with us and joining us. I think it's time for another toast, and then I think we'll probably start wrapping up in about 10 minutes, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So, John, you have a toast?
Okay. I'm kind of thinking which one now. Right. So kind of a wee bit of background to this one as well. So there's these 2 drunk guys sitting on the porch, and they're almost kind of toasting away and toasting out the new year, or toasting in the new year. And so one of them sees a cow walking up the hill, and so what he says, "Oh, I've got a toast," and he goes, "On yonder hill there stood a coo. It's not there now. It must have moved." Slange.
Cheers. Oh, that was a very moving toast there, John. Thank you very much. Lindsay, Mike, and Charlotte from Alexandria, Virginia. Favorite edition of 10-year cask strength? Do you have one?
Yeah, I would go batch 4 or batch 10. That would be my 2, maybe batch 2. But that's my top 3, definitely my top 3. I remember we tasted batch 4 the last time I was in the US. I'm actually supposed to be there right now, unfortunately. COVID put paid to that, but we tasted batch 4 in Washington, DC last year.
Right. For the Asian market, I believe was released an 11-year-old. Any chance in any time in the UK?
Nope, that was a specific one just for China, basically. So yeah.
Aaron Margulis writes, "I love the PX cask. Is that still only travel retail?"
Yes, no, it's probably going to stay in travel retail as well too. It's just hugely popular, and it is lovely whiskey, especially if you like dry. It's kind of like sweet, smoky raisins and lovely kind of dry kind of finish to that as well. So it's very popular.
We've got a recommendation here from Connor in Vancouver, getting your partner into whiskey. Then they don't get mad when you spend cash on it and bring it home, though. But more whiskey plus having a second person to attend whiskey events.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just typical Scottish. I just don't like sharing.
Lindsay, Mike, and of course Charlotte. Charlotte. We're both Pete heads when we met, so I don't know what you're talking about, Connor. There you go. Yeah, Connor had to work on mine. She was into vodka. Started with Japanese, then Speyside to get into Scotch. Ardbeg 10 for the floral. Then she tried Laphroaig Lore at a whiskey event, and to my astonishment, loved it above all else. Now she's hooked. Samuel, Islay whiskey is the first dram that truly made sense to my palate. Cheers.
Cheers, Sam.
Bruno, thank you, Simon and John, for the nice chat. Love to do this again. Slàinte to all you. Greetings from Belgium. Bruno, thank you for joining us from Belgium. And John Christian, brilliant answer to my lore question. Thank you. Do you use PX in any other bottlings than the PX Travel exclusive?
Yes, there's a small amount in Select as well. And if you taste Select now, it's right at the beginning, and it just gets a nice kind of grapey, gloopy start off to Select.
So how many bottles of the 10-year cask strength are produced? We are in batch number 11. However, there was 1 year where we produced 2 different batches. So there have been 12 bottlings of the 10-year cask strength since we used to have the original cask strength.
Yes, since the 55.7, yep.
Oh, here's an interesting one. I had a taste of Brodeer once and enjoyed it very much. Any chance of that hitting US retail?
Probably not. No, it's staying, but you will have a cartridge that's going to be along these lines this year again. So you will have a port, somewhat. I think it's like 80% port in this year's cartridge. So.
John Stewart's asking, are you still at normal production levels?
No, we are stopped. We have been stopped for over a month now. So.
Connor saying, thanks, gents. It was great fun. Hope to see you folks again. And Bruce was saying that was a great best whiskey. Stay well. We're starting to wrap up here. Thank you. I want to thank John for staying up late.
Past my bedtime.
Right. But also to John and Nicholas as well, because I know he's on the line, for keeping the fires burning. It's a challenging time for us all, but we all appreciate the work that you are doing, producing this amazing whiskey on this amazing island, and hopefully the island will be back open again soon, and everybody will be into full production. But we have enough liquid to continue bottling at this time.
Yes.
And keep listening for what we will be doing for the Islay Festival celebration, as well as other opportunities. I know Tamer had to drop off the line, but I want to thank Tamer and all of you for spending some time with us this afternoon. And John, I'm going to give you the closing comments.
Okay, and just again, thanks to everyone. Thanks to all the questions and the interaction. It's really important to get that, and hopefully we've answered a few of your questions this evening as well. So I really appreciate the support, both from PJ as well and from yourself, Simon, helping spread the Laphroaig word around Virginia and the US as well. So thanks to Nicholas as well for helping make Laphroaig. And yeah, let's do this again. That was great. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and we hope to see we hope to see you back in the US in the fall. It's still to be
Yes.
negotiated, but we're trying to make it happen. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. And from Tamer, if you guys are interested in hearing some more Scotch discussions, either including us or any other groups, please keep updated on the Islay Scotch Society Facebook group and join the group. You'll have to answer the proper question when asked what your favorite Islay Scotch is, though. So choose wisely. Slunge.
cheers. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. All the best.
Hey, can everybody come on the line just for one quick picture? Can we see your faces?
All of a sudden, like,
Perfect. Kevin, good to see your face. All right. Glasses up, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Slán, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.